My 15-year-old son came to my husband and I last week, telling us that his girlfriend is 7 months pregnant. As someone who became a mother very young, I am devastated and so deeply disappointed. They've been together for about a year, but we always thought it was a kid's thing, nothing harmless. Regardless, when under our watch, we kept them under constant supervision, so this was all a shock. We know the girl's parents and believed we were all on the same page about our kids. Turns out we were wrong. When we called them, they spun some crap about how their daughter had already told us, basically placing the blame on their child for us not knowing she's been pregnant for 7 months. On top of this, they've only known for about a month or two, meaning she's had basically no prenatal care. We were trying to figure out what our next steps should be, so I called my older brother. Not wanting him to keep a secret from his family, I told him I'd individually call his wife and 2 daughters to tell them myself. When I called the youngest one, 16, who is close to my son, her first reaction was I wonder if it's even his. Upon hearing this, I immediately questioned my son, who then informed me of their very colorful relationship. She's apparently a serial cheater, even though I didn't even think that was a factor in a 15-year-old's relationship. I've never felt like such a bad mother listening to all that was going on in my son's life that I didn't know about, knowing he's never trusted me enough. After this, I contacted the parents of his girlfriend and as gently as I could, informed them that we wanted a paternity test done. They flipped, they were pissed about what I was accusing their daughter of and saying the trauma of even bringing that up to her is too much for a heavily pregnant child. Well, I might agree, this is my child's life that's gonna be deeply impacted too. So my husband and I decided we're gonna keep trying to get a paternity test done no matter what it takes. Am I the idiot for demanding this? Am I being unreasonable? As bad of a parent as I feel like I am right now for letting this happen, I feel I'm nowhere near as bad as the girl's parents. Just to clarify, we've gone over this with my son and he's on board and understands why a paternity test is important. Not the idiot for wanting a paternity test, but you are the idiot for thinking this is now a who's a crappier parent contest. I mean, teens get pregnant. I wish they didn't, unless they are able to do so without any problems, then go for it, but they do. Neither set of parents adequately prepared their child to make safe love, and neither set of parents has a close enough relationship with their child that this was brought up sooner than now. Both sets of parents seem to want to blame the other. Not the idiot, but considering you took your son, who is not open with you about Jack Crap's word on this girl is a serial cheater at face value, I'm still going to say you're some sort of idiot. Stop pointing fingers at her parents. You don't know what she's actually like, and although I agree that paternity test needs to be done, stop putting all this freaking focus on her. She didn't seduce your son and is now trying to trap him into something. Your son is to blame just as much as she is. Take responsibility. Not the idiot. In fact, in some states, they've now made it mandatory before the bigger certificate is signed. Why? Because once you sign it, you're the dad, regardless of paternity, so if you find out 10 years later the kid isn't yours, as far as the court system is concerned, you signed it, you took responsibility, so you have to pay child support. This is something that can be done at birth or after, but your child is a minor, so you have the legal right to demand a paternity test because he will not be paying for the baby. I'm 47, my husband is 49, my son is 28, his fiancée is 27. When my son proposed, we talked to both him and his fiancée to find out their game plans for the future. We wanted to buy them a house, but one question decided how big do they plan on having children. Their answer was yes, so we did buy them a house, but kept it in our name. Because they were common law at this point and not yet married, we worried what if they broke their engagement. If the house was in my son's name, for example, she would be entitled to some of it. At least in our names, our family is protected. We think the world of his fiancée. This was just a devil's advocate, worst case scenario thing. They've been engaged for 2 years and the wedding is coming up this October. But we were hit by a bombshell a couple of weeks ago that they no longer have any desire to have children. This is fine, we don't expect or assume anything. If they don't have kids, it's their life, we don't respect them any less for it. But it made my husband a little miffed that we specifically bought them a big house under that assumption. We would have bought them a smaller 2+1 bedroom or thereabouts if they planned on being child-free. But instead, we were told children are in their future, so we bought them a 5-bedroom home. This is like the difference of a factor of 2. We spent our money needlessly. I'm pushing my husband to sell the house because it's in our name still. My husband says it will create a rift between families, but this whole thing was based on misinformation. I don't think they did it with malice. We get a bigger house if we lie, but I think they knew they didn't want children. You don't be in a relationship for 8 years and don't have that conversation, right? Would I be the idiot for selling their home? We'd get them a smaller one, of course, we just don't think they'll need anything bigger. They'd never be homeless. Not the idiot. If you bought it, you should be able to sell it, as long as they are still going to have a place to live. It's not like you're kicking them to the curb. I would also give them an option to pay the difference of this bigger house with a small one if they truly enjoy their current situation. Lastly, I would definitely make sure that they have an extra bedroom in the upcoming house in case they have an unplanned pregnancy. You sound like great parents in my opinion. You're the idiot. First of all, you treated your kids different based on their lifestyles. Twist it any way you want, that's what you did. You're the idiot for just that alone. You sound like pretentious dirtbags who bought them a big house because you thought they'd continue your precious family name, and when they didn't you started questioning whether it was worth it. It's like they literally lost value to you because they didn't take the path you wanted them to. Anyone who truly loves someone would be happy to get them a gift, no questions asked, but you guys are being super stingy. I'm not sure I can wrap my mind around buying a 5-bedroom house for a couple that hasn't gotten married yet based on how many children they might want at a future date. I'm assuming at least 4 children. How long do you think it might take them to have 4 children? At least 4 years, and probably most people would space that out considerably. Plans change for all sorts of reasons: career plans, relationship issues, physical issues, emotional issues, and they may well change their minds and want children again. Okay, I have a 2-month-old and am currently on paternity leave. I'm fortunate to work at a place that's family-oriented and where I'm a senior employee. I'm able to get a longer than typical paternity leave by working remotely from home. However, I had to go into the office to get documents that could only be accessed on my work computer. I thought I would give my wife a break and let her sleep in. So I grabbed my kid and headed to the office. Only my boss knew I was coming in, so the office was surprised. And as people do, they gravitated towards the baby. Lots of cooing, holding, passing around, etc. This was all taking place inside my office. Then my baby started crying. I told my assistant that she can rock baby or walk around the office and they'll go back to sleep. My assistant took her outside my office by her desk and I worked on gathering what I needed from my computer. I stop hearing crying and look up to see my assistant on her phone, no baby in her arms. I rush out and ask where my kid is. She said asked one of the interns, let's call her Mary, to take her because she got a call from a client. Like most places, my office has summer interns who are college students. I've only met them once during the interviews months ago, but I went on paternity leave before they started and haven't worked with them like the rest of the office has. I know nothing about them personally since I've been out of the office. I went over to where the intern desks are and asked where Mary was, and they said she went to the bathroom. I asked if she had my baby, they said she thinks so, and I asked one of the female employees if she could go to the bathroom to get her. A minute later, they both come back, baby with Mary and diaper bag on her arm. I took my kid from her arms and told her I didn't appreciate her walking off with my kid. Mary said my assistant asked her to hold the baby, and when she did, it seemed like baby needed a diaper change, so she went and did that. I told her I appreciate the sentiment, but didn't like the idea of a stranger walking off with my baby. In private, I told my boss that how I felt and that I would feel uncomfortable extending her a job offer at the end of her internship, but the status of her employment now was up to my boss to decide. When I told my wife, she said I went too far. The girl was doing a simple task and that she probably was given an intern task. I reiterated that the girl was a stranger and we wouldn't let a stranger change our kid's diaper anywhere else. Why work? Work doesn't stop people from being psychos. Wife said she understood that, but that I didn't need to jeopardize the intern's future employment and that I was throwing my weight around since I'm high in command. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You took your baby to work. Then left the baby with an assistant, which prevented the assistant from focusing on her job. Then your assistant didn't want to be your nanny and gave the baby to an intern because she didn't want to deal with the responsibility of dealing with a crying baby while trying to perform her job. Why aren't you mad at the assistant? Also, the intern was following orders. Don't bring your small child to your office if you aren't going to take 100% responsibility. You're the idiot, like. A really big one. You left your baby with somebody that isn't responsible for it, they pawned it off to an intern, and they went the extra mile and changed your kid. Then. You went the extra mile to make sure the intern wouldn't have a job after they did free work for you. I wish I could vote twice. You're not mad at your assistant. You're mad at the intern? Jesus freaking Christ, man, get your privilege in check. I'd consider leaving my child with an assistant to be psycho behavior, not changing a dirty diaper. The acronym doesn't do it justice. You're an idiot. You're the idiot. This sub pretty much unanimously thinks so. Your wife, who presumably likes you and sees your charming qualities that aren't on display in this post, thinks so. Honestly, unless your workplace is dysfunctional, I suspect your coworkers and boss think so too. If I were him, I'd be questioning your judgment. Tomorrow call your boss and tell him that you were spooked by losing track of your baby and had a momentary lapse in judgment, but that you recognize that Mary was trying to help. You owe it to her, and I suspect it's the right move for you too. So I just read a post that made me think of this incident from a few months back, and I'm curious if I'm the idiot on this one. I needed to buy groceries one night, but I had had a really long day at work. So rather than walk down the street to the grocery store, literally a block away, I decided to just order them off Amazon, which is supposed to, and usually does, deliver directly to your front door. I have even put directions in the delivery note section explaining exactly how to work the buzzer and get to my apartment in the building. It's not hard. I live in a rather large apartment building that's shaped like an L, so it's a bit of a trek to get to my apartment's actual door. I can also see the main entrance where we buzz people in because of my apartment's placement in the building. So I'm chilling at my kitchen table, playing on my phone, and get a notification that my groceries are almost here. I then see a car pull up in front, check my phone, and confirm it's probably the delivery driver. I can see him checking his phone and looking at the building. He sits there for a minute or two and then starts calling on his phone. I get a call from the Amazon number. He tells me that he has tried the buzzer several times, it's not working, and he wants me to come to meet him at the door to take my groceries. I'm annoyed since I saw him pull up and know very well that he didn't, but I feign surprise, ask him to try my boyfriend's buzzer number, it goes to our cell phones, and call me back if it doesn't work. He tries to get me to come down to meet him several more times, then finally agrees in a clearly annoyed tone. I then watch him just sit in his car for another 2 or 3 minutes doing nothing, at which point he tries to call again. I'm pissed now, since I figure he is just being lazy, and the whole point of ordering the groceries and having to pay tip was that I didn't want to leave my apartment. So I just ignore the call. He tries calling 8 more times and I refuse to pick up. I decide I'm not picking up until he gets out of his car and actually tries the buzzer. Instead, he leaves an angry voicemail and drives off, marking my groceries as undeliverable. I immediately call Amazon customer service, explain that he sat in his car and never even tried to deliver them, and insist on a full refund, including the tip. They agree. My boyfriend thinks I was an idiot for not just going downstairs to get the groceries, especially since I got the guy in trouble and we had to wait 2 hours to have the new order delivered. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. We had something similar happen to us. We ordered from Whole Foods through Amazon delivery. My mom specifically told them that there are 252s in our neighborhood and to make sure they didn't deliver it to the wrong one, cause my mom just had hip surgery. Of course, they delivered it to the wrong 52 and my mom had to wait until her boyfriend came home so he could go get the groceries. Luckily, when she called to complain and asked to take the driver's tip away, they refunded the whole thing and gave us 20% off our next order. So moral of the story, Amazon delivery drivers screw. Not the idiot. People like him are the literal reason why we boycott entire shipping or delivery companies. I have no sympathy at all. I'm a huge advocate of giving people enough rope to hang themselves with. This guy was deliberately being a lazy idiot and not doing his job, and if you'd called him out or gone down to get your stuff, he'd never get in trouble for it. If you're willing to inconvenience yourself, you did exactly the right thing. Even if someone argues it's unnecessary, you're still not the idiot. Not the idiot. If there are steps that need to be taken to get to your front door and they don't make an effort to try, then they aren't doing their job. My complex has one way to open the gates, that's a garage-style clicker. Since there is nothing the delivery guys can do, I walk out there to the gate because it's necessary and the delivery guy has done all they can. This delivery driver did none of that and deserves what they get for being lazy on the job. Not doing the thing they are getting paid to do. On my birthday this year, I treated myself to $50 in lottery tickets and managed to hit one of the huge $50,000 payouts. After taxes, I had at least $34,000, so I've put $7,500 into my wife's car and put the rest into a high-interest bank account. I'm planning to switch jobs early 2020, but first, I plan to travel for the month of January and half of February across Asia and Europe. I've never had a proper vacation, unless you count weekend trips to Disney World for the kids, and have really wanted to take the chance to go out there and explore the world. Well, yesterday my daughter Emily was talking about the job movement and the topic of the vacation came up. I told her about how I'm financing it with a lottery. She previously did not know about the winnings, and Emily went quiet before saying instead of wasting 25 grand on a vacation, why not do something practical like maybe spend $5,000 on a vacation and help your daughter not graduate with a mountain of debt. I told her that I'd be happy to co-sign loans for her, but I was only willing to pay upwards of $10,000 of her education, the amount I promised both her and her brother when they were 13 to 15. She said even after paying that off, she's looking to be at being $29,000 in debt by the time she finishes school. I told her that really screws, but reminded her that I offered community college as an option years ago when she was applying to schools, but she insisted that she didn't want to miss out on the prestige. She got into Dartmouth. I talked to her about how transferring was an option, but she ultimately picked that route. She's brought up how the $10K I gave Jason, my son, was enough to completely pay for college costs plus some extra spending change because he got a state scholarship that paid for 100% tuition. She argued how it's not fair that I was essentially willing to pay all of his colleges but leave her with a mountain of debt. I told her that he'd be able to argue the same thing if she got more money than he did. Ultimately, the line I drew was that both children get equal amounts and I can choose how I want to spend my money, end of discussion. I thought it was over, but it turns out that she went and talked to my wife Amy about it behind my back. Amy tried to persuade me to make it a 2 or 3 week vacation as opposed to the 1.5 months I had planned. I told her the same thing that I told our daughter, and then she got mad and said that I'm being selfish and using all of the money that for myself, never mind the amount I put into her car and the fact that she used all of the $5,000 inheritance on cosmetic plastic surgery 4 years back. I told her this vacation was non-negotiable. Now I have 2 women in this household giving me passive-aggressive looks and eye rolls. I feel like they're both acting entitled to my crap. Am I really being unreasonable here? Not the idiot. Please don't give in. She decided to go to an expensive college to not miss out on the prestige. Even in tough times, a Dartmouth degree definitely gives you a leg up on the competition. It's her debt, not yours. Going on this trip is something you've wanted to do for yourself, and now you have the means for it. Do it. You might never get another chance and odds or you will regret not going. You are still an individual with hopes, dreams, goals, etc. Just because you have a wife and kids doesn't mean you have to stop doing things for yourself. Not the idiot. The family is being unreasonable. That's found money and it's your found money. You should be able to do with it what you want. Your wife already got a bunch of it for her car and you're treating your kids equally. It's not your fault your daughter refused to go a more affordable education route or apply herself to get scholarships as your son did. It's not selfish to want to do something for yourself if the family is perfectly taken care of.